Welcome to Golden Speakers Toastmasters of Fairfield, Iowa. I'm Cindy Traynor, Sergeant of Arms, and this is April 15th, 2014. It's Passover night. But we hold our meetings anyway, rain or shine, just like the mailman has to get the mail through, or the mailwoman. Please join me in warmly welcoming our club president, Rhonda Whitaker.
Yo!
Welcome everyone, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. The mission of a Toastmasters Club is something I'd like to talk with you about. We are here to create a positive and supportive environment for members to be empowered to learn communication and leadership skills, which in turn builds self-confidence, woohoo, and personal improvement.
Yay!
Now, at risk of tripping over anybody, I'm going to come out front and show you that I do exist from behind the lectern. I am actually 3D, not 2D. Thank you. And I'd like to turn our meeting over now to our wonderful...
You want to welcome your guest?
Oh, well, I won't turn the meeting over to Dinesh because he's our guest. And I'd like to welcome Dinesh. It's the first time Dinesh has been here. And Dinesh, I'd like to ask how you found out about it.
No. I found out about it by a YouTube video that Mr. Jyoti Adhikari had posted, and that time it was a couple of months ago, and at that time I looked for it and couldn't find where it exists here in Fairfield. I'm here in Fairfield since last August, and I was looking for it, and luckily last Tuesday one of my neighbor, he was coming here through the school English class, and I got to know about this, and I liked it in the Facebook page, and I'm here. So I hope I'm very fond of this communication skills, and because I'm a little bit new here, but in my mother tongue I'm a very good speaker.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
We're gonna
and here I'm very much looking forward to this forum, and I'm very much positive that this forum will help me to get my goals I'm looking for as a good speaker and communicator. I'm very much fond of it. Thank you.
Thank you. We have another guest tonight. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, yes. Hi, I'm Nadia. I'm still guest. It's my third meeting. First one was I got adrenaline dose from first meeting, so I like it. And I'm here to build my confidence, to become an eloquent speaker and a leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Very wonderful to hear from our guests tonight. Now I will turn the meeting over to our chosen Toastmaster of the evening, Monty Condon.
My fellow Toastmasters, our lovely guests, and our viewers at home. We've got a smaller crowd tonight than we did last week, so it's going to be a little bit more personable. Big crowds are good, small crowds are good. It's just all what we make of it, and we're going to have a good night tonight regardless of size. Be more personable. Our theme tonight is deadlines, and the quote on our little outline here is, "A goal is a dream with a deadline," and it's by a gentleman named Napoleon Hill. Has anyone heard of Napoleon Hill before? Of course, Seth, I'm sure has. Tom. Napoleon Hill wrote one of the most best-selling books in the history of the world, Think and Grow Rich. And if you have any interest in self-help or self-development, or if you've heard of affirmations or the law of attraction, there's a documentary not too long ago called The Secret. Napoleon Hill was involved in this type of thought movement back in the 20s. And I would highly recommend picking up that book, Think and Grow Rich. Tonight, moi is your Toastmaster.
Ha!
My job as Toastmaster of this meeting is to make sure that the meeting runs on time. I will introduce the role players. I will ease the transition from section to section. I'm sort of a master of ceremonies. That's my role tonight. Now, besides the role of Toastmaster, we also have other role players. The first of which is our timer, Art Atkinson.
Thank you, Mud. Good evening, Toastmasters. My role as a timer is to record the times of all of the speakers tonight and to report on that at the end of the meeting. We will have table topics speeches, which are speeches of 1 to 2 minutes in length. I will demonstrate what I have just learned, that is that our light, the green light, will go on at 1 minute, the yellow light at 1 minute 30 seconds, and the red at 2 minutes and remain on until the end of the speech. Prepared speeches are usually 5 to 7 minutes, and tonight we have one speech at 5 to 7 minutes and one at 6 to 8 minutes. For a 5 to 7 minute speech, the green light goes on at 5 minutes, the yellow at 6, and the red at 7 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. For longer speeches, the times will be, for the 6 to 8 minute, it'll be 6, 7, and 8, those three colors. We have evaluations, which are 3 minute speeches. The green light is turned on at 2 minutes, the yellow at 2 minutes 30, and the red at 3 minutes and remains on until the end of the evaluation. And I'll give a brief report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Art. Next we have Dan Craig as our counter.
My role tonight is to keep track of filler words that anyone who speaks may use. I'll be looking for things such as like, you know, so, but, and duplications and false starts. I'll give a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you, Dan. And once again, we're going to go back to Art Atkinson. He is pulling double duty tonight as both our timer and also grammarian. What do you do as a grammarian, Art?
As grammarian, I have two tasks. One is to observe the language that we're using, and should there be, I doubt there will be, any misuse of the English language, poor grammar could be an example. I would note that and report on it at the end of the meeting. Also to watch for particularly beautiful turns of phrase, figures of speech, or good use of language. And to choose, as I have done so, the word of the evening and to count the times when various people use the word of the evening, which is the word succinct, pronunciation of which could be succinct or succinct. I tend to call it succinct, meaning said or written with clarity and brevity. The job of the timer is to encourage us to be succinct. That's my role.
Thank you very much, Art. Later in the evening, you'll be introduced to our general evaluator, which tonight is going to be Will Burns. And also, we'll get the treat of having our joke master tonight, is Cindy Traynor. Without further ado, our first section tonight is Table Topics. Table Topics is about impromptu speaking. Tonight, since we're short one speech, we're actually going to have an extra long session of Table Topics. We'll have plenty of opportunities from our audience to participate, including our guests and other Toastmasters. Without further ado, our Table Topics master is Tom Traynor.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored and distinguished guests. We're going to do something tonight we haven't done in a while. We're going to do table topics with props. Now, a prop is something you hold in your hand to make a point. Okay, we haven't done this as much as we in the past. as you get going on in your speeches, you're going to be called upon to use a prop. So practicing how to use props in table topics is a way to get used to that. What I've got in the bag, with a picture of the owl on one side and the pelican on the other, and you cannot choose the bag as a prop, unfortunately. I have various tools that came from places in the house. Now I'm going to suggest that you take one thing, only one. Now you have a couple of choices. You can succinctly talk about its real purpose if you know what that is. And if you know what it is, you can also make up a crazy story about what you think it could be. And if you have no idea what it is, you're going to have to make up a crazy story because you have to deal with the fact you've got something in your hand and you have to tell us a story. I can only tell you that I watched a medical doctor when I first joined Toastmasters make a total fool of himself with one of these props, and then I realized he is really a human being because he did the most interesting, funny thing I've ever seen. I'm going to encourage you. We have almost 18 minutes, right, Dan?
Yep.
That means that there's time for half of the people to come up, have fun, laugh, and enjoy playing with a prop. Now, I need a volunteer, because if you don't volunteer, you will, as one of the guys called it at Cambridge, he was a former Marine, you're going to be volunteered. That's what
Voluntold.
Voluntold, that's right, I missed it, I forgot. You're voluntold. So, do I get a volunteer or a voluntold? Which will it be? Oh, I see Carol. Come on up, Carol. Come on down. Okay, put your hand in and grab anything you want. You can feel around for a minute or two, but not too long. Don't get into it. You're not taking them home, you know. You're not having a date. All right, you have a prop. All right. Now, tell us a story, true or not true, whatever you want, but make us laugh.
Golden Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. I got the succinct privilege of drawing an egg beater. An egg beater I have used many times in my life because I like to make souffles. And when you make a souffle, you separate the eggs from the egg yolk to the egg white, and then in order to make the souffle rise, which is the prime de luxe of the souffle, you're supposed to beat the whites till they are consistency so they are so stiff that when you beat them into the egg mixture of cheese, flour, and the roux that you've already preciously spent your time making, you combine them into the one pot and you put it in the oven. However, in my life, I've found egg beaters serving many purposes. In my professional life, I also conduct music.
Ha!
And an egg beater, I've always thought, was the perfect tool to conduct an orchestra. Because most people, when they conduct with a baton. And the baton just simply goes around and allowing for one beat at one time. But in most orchestras, whether you like it or not, people follow the beat to their own drummer, and they would prefer to have many options for where the actual beat is. So this egg beater isn't necessarily an egg beater, it could be a music beater. So that when you go through and conduct an orchestra and listen to all the beats, then what you allow is the opportunity for all the interpretations from the people in the orchestra where the beat might possibly be at the corner here or here or here, and that they could play there. And I've learned many times that that's a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. A very succinct presentation. Now you all have the idea who's going to be number 2. Come on. Mr. Braun. Come on, Dale. Yo! Don't look, just peek. Yes, yes.
Good to see you, John.
Good to see you. Just have fun. Grab one. Oh, you got something fun. Ah!
Fellow Toastmasters, Mr. Table Topics Master, viewers at home, many of you don't know this, but I did a study abroad program in Spain. And I learned to do very wonderful Spanish dances. And this, obviously, is a castanet, a musical instrument. Ole!
Ole.
And in Spain, I learned some very famous Spanish songs. When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. So I'm a very multicultural person, a very musical person. I like to play the castanets, sing songs in other languages. But enough about me. How many of you like music? Show of hands. Now let's do a quick poll here. How many of you like classic rock and roll, American rock and roll? Okay, it's about half. How many of you like classic R&B? R&B, okay. And how many of you like classical music? Okay, this looks like a very cultured group. That, I think, is a good signal for me that I should stop speaking now about my castanet and my time in Spain. But in closing, if you have the opportunity to travel, I encourage you to learn songs like I have, and learn about new musical expressions and instruments, so you too can be cultured.
All right. Who do we want to be for number 3? Come on now. There you go. Reach in, pull something out. Aha!
Toastmasters, I'm very honored to be here, and this is the first presentation in the table topics. This is, I don't know what it is called in English, but this was something I was looking for. Can I take it home today? Because I couldn't find this even in Walmart, in this Family Dollar, Family Journal, or whatever is here, the stores. I was actually looking for this thing, and since when I just felt it, and I thought I should talk about it, because this is very useful thing in kitchen. Last couple of weeks ago, me and my wife, we were trying to make some laddus, that is called Indian sweet, which is made out of garbanzo flour and sweet. Basically, it's a sweet, and this thing is indispensable instrument for that thing. But we didn't have it at home, and we were looking for it. We were actually looking for it, and. What you do, let me just give you the recipe, short recipe. What you do is you make a mixture of garbanzo flour, just garbanzo flour, and the mixture should be that consistent or that thick that you just can drop it in the frying pan in the oil, and it gives with a very round, small spores like shape, the round shape. And after that is cooled, you soak it in the sugar mixture, and you make a ball like kind of structure that is called laddu. So here you go. Now you are able to make a laddu out of it, and you just don't underestimate this instrument, because I have very hard time finding it, and I don't know what it is called. So anyone, maybe you all know it. Can I know its name, please?
It's a grease separator, oil separator.
Oil separator.
Skim the oil off the top of a soup or a stew.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, number 3. Very succinct. Who wants to be number 4? There's always a player. We got a player. Come on, Neil. Come on, Neil. Don't look. Just put your hand in. You have an item. There you go. Have fun.
Don't count that.
Ah!
My apologies.
Hello everyone. What I'm gonna introduce you to today is handle. As you can see, it's made of metal. Has 1, 2, 3, 7 strings, and you use it to cut cheese.
Ah!
Actually,
Ah!
no. So you have a piece of cheese, and all you do is push
Ah!
through the cheese and you get slices, so you don't have to actually get a knife. You spend, I don't know, 10 seconds cutting one piece. You see this? And you get all the pieces of cheese. Any kind of cheese. Actually, be careful because they can cut through your skin. It's made in England by someone called Doug Blender, and it has a patent actually. So as you can see, nobody else can make it. So next time you see it and you want to feel like eating cheese, and you buy the cheese, have your own thing here, and then just cut it in pieces, and you already have it ready for you to eat. So there you go.
Another succinct expression of creativity. Who would like to be the next victim? Dan, Craig, come on down! Come on down! Reach in, help yourself. There you go. Ha! Ha!
Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, I'm glad to tell you tonight about this instrument, which probably looks like a spoon to you. You would think it's a spoon-like apparatus, but you can tell by certain markings underneath. They're, to an expert eye, they stand out. This is actually an artifact of a little-known pygmy tribe.
Ha!
And I hesitate to tell you exactly what they use it for.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll hint so as not to offend anyone's sensibilities, delicate sensibilities. I won't be completely succinct about the process. But these particular pygmies are fond of hunting in the forest with their blowguns. And if the best thing they can find is another biped, they may impale them with said dart. And then they have certain delicacies that they like to harvest while everything's still fresh. So you can see sort of the shape of that and what it might fit inside if you, but anyway. I know this is just a little too gruesome for you. But I have no choice. Being an expert in pygmy relics, such as this, I owed you the real explanation.
We are done, right, Dan, in terms of time?
Yes, we got 1 minute, but I guess you're done. Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to vote for the best tabletop person. Mr. Timer, did they all qualify?
Yes, everyone qualifies.
Would you read the names so that we
We have
can...
Carol, Seth, Dinesh, Gilberto, and Dan.
So 5, vote for one of the 5. And we're going to take a break while you're voting. I'm going to tell you what some of these are.
Thank you. Thanks for the warm reception. In table topics evaluation, the evaluator will give recommendations and also commend the people for things they did well and recommend some improvements. Of course, it's all my opinion. I'm not a professional. I'm not getting paid for this, so it's just my opinion. First up was Carol. She pulled up this wonderful conducting instrument.
Ah!
Vivid imagination, that's great. I like the idea about having the beat fall on the various different wires. That must have been very interesting to hear an orchestra decide what their beat was going to be. That would have been really interesting. May fall in the category of modern music, perhaps? At least my limited exposure to that. While you had this in your hand, Carl, I would have loved to see bigger gestures. I mean, isn't there some symphony that you've conducted where you really go after, like, to bring everything together?
Yeah,
Perhaps you could have demonstrated something like that. But I really liked your use of the baton and your imagination. And I'll have to try your souffle recipe. That sounds good too. Seth. You had the castanets. Click, 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 click. You demonstrated them. I liked your body language. You had good gestures and you had good use of the stage also. At some point you were over here and you were connecting with people on this side of the audience. But you tended to stay a little bit staged this way, then come over and spend some time on this side of the stage. So I don't know how you can make it equal, but that's just a suggestion, in my opinion. I really liked your use of the castanets, and your body language was really fun to watch. Dinesh, thank you for coming up here as a guest. We always enjoy having guests speak. I liked your gestures. You did a really good job with this guy. It was fun. You were kind of waving it around and moving it, and you gave us a nice recipe. My one suggestion would be to also use a little bit more of the room here. You did move around some. You could have started in one spot and said, this is a recipe, and then come over to another spot and say, now what's the name for this? And I liked your talk, and again, thank you very much for coming up here. Gilberto, guys, is that,
Yes.
okay, I was just hoping I was pronouncing your name. Cut cheese. Yeah, my grandmother had this, and that's exactly, I think she probably, cottage cheese maybe you could cut with it. It was good. She used it for a lot of things, cheese included. And I liked how you stood here and you demonstrated. You were standing on this side and you were demonstrating cutting the cheese, and that was really well done. I liked the fact that you used it to demonstrate what you were talking about. I would suggest that you could use the stage more. You kind of stayed in the middle, and it's good that you didn't pace back and forth, but you could expand your range of where you're standing. Like, I ought to come over here and talk to you. I'm using the stage more because I'm on this side. So thank you very much for coming up and talking. We appreciate your your demonstration of cheese cutting. And Dan, that spoon-like apparatus. Wow, I didn't know you were an expert on Aboriginal culture. That was fun. Were you talking about this part of the anatomy?
Let's not get too.
Let's not do that. Okay. But I liked how you used your imagination on the artifact, but I'd like to see you use the stage more. But thank you for showing and telling us your expertise on pygmy cultures. Thank you very much. And that's it for Table Topics Evaluating. Mr. Toastmaster.
Yo!
Thank you, Cindy. So that concludes the table topic session of this Toastmaster evening. We now move on to the main event, our prepared speeches. And I would like to invite up Seth Braun to introduce John Miller, as John Miller gives his first speech in front of this club.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Viewers at home, John's going to be doing the first speech in an advanced manual, Speaking to Inform. Advanced manuals are what's next after you complete the Competent Communicator. Each advanced manual has 5 projects. This is the first project in Speaking to Inform. It's called the Speech to Inform. The purpose of this talk is for the speaker to present an informative speech of 5 to 7 minutes. The information should be presented in an interesting manner with a clear organizational pattern. The speaker should use examples and support the points of fact and expert opinion. In addition to the oral evaluation, use the manual. Please help me warmly welcome John Miller.
Fellow Toastmasters from China, guests from China, and viewers at home. Today, I will help introduce you to American culture on this, your first visit to America. We shall briefly explore its diversity as played out in its music, in its values, and in its tradition of tipping. First, its music. I know you're new to America. I know you have had some English instruction. But if you would give me some idea of what you have heard about American music. Name a couple of the venues or styles of American music, if you would.
Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys.
Appalachian Spring.
And what?
Appalachian Spring.
And if you would name not a musical group or composition, but a style of music, such as jazz. Thank you.
Folk.
Folk.
Hip-hop.
Hip-hop. Okay. Jazz, folk, and hip-hop. We'll start off with those. Jazz actually has African American roots. Folk music it's the music of the common people. So-called common people, which is probably just about everybody. In your Chinese language, the name for folk music is Yun Luo. You probably know that, don't you?
Ha!
Of course.
Ha!
And hip-hop, I think, was the third, which I am not sure about this source. I think it's African American, but maybe one of you Chinese people who is well-versed in American music tradition can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe it's African American. Let me amplify from those three. We also have gospel, which is a kind of spiritually based music stemming from not only African American roots, but also from a broad spectrum of ethnic backgrounds throughout America. We have soul music, which is African American in origin. We have country, which is traditionally associated with Southern white culture. We have blues, again, which is African American in origin for the most part. Did we mention jazz? that was mentioned. Jazz, again, African American. Classical music tends to be associated with European culture, salsa with Hispanic culture, Irish with Italian, no, I'm kidding. Irish with Irish culture, of course, and bluegrass. Where does bluegrass come? I always thought bluegrass was from Kentucky. Actually, it originated from Irish, Scottish, Welsh, and English roots. Barbershop quartet. Surely that's the bastion of white culture, isn't it? No. Yes. Barbershop quartet also originated in African American tradition. So much of our music that we love today comes from African American roots. The variety of music in America illustrates a major difference between Chinese culture and American culture. That is that American culture was formed from a vast diversity of ethnic groups coming from throughout the world. Even the Native American Indian, where did they travel from? Your homeland, China, across the Bering Strait, into America. We're all immigrants, okay? We have developed a great diversity of music that reflects that. A visitor here may be pleasantly surprised at the diversity present and therefore also at the tolerance that tends to be present to support that diversity. Yet, to accept such diversity requires practice. Let me share the experience of one gentleman, Mike Plaxton, CEO of FWD Life Insurance, who was visiting a neighboring country of yours a couple of years ago, Thailand. He said, I started to make things and it didn't work. Once I took the trouble to find the problem, I found that I was the problem, not the people I was working with. Mike's self-admitted arrogance prevented him from understanding the values within Thai culture. You might guess that the many ethnic groups forming American culture collectively have developed a very diverse set of values. That's true. For example, individualism, equality, volunteerism, a strong work ethic, and faith in freedom and democracy, supplemented with a valuing of youth over the aged. Lucky for me, I'm so young. Change is positive, risk-taking is good, and a favoring of the practical over the beautiful. As you can see, American values do encompass quite a diverse range. Being practical is played out in tipping in America. In China, you may rarely tip others. In America, it is much more frequent and is often a significant source of income for taxi drivers, restaurant staff, hair cutters, baggage handlers, Toastmasters speech makers. I'm kidding, don't worry. And hotel room service. Tipping can be 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever you're comfortable with based on the service rendered. Tipping for the others, then, is strictly a matter of personal preference as well. On a final note, in America, if you thank someone, they may often reply, no problem. Now, your English instruction manual has probably told you the answer was, you're welcome. The culture is changing. Did you ever guess that thanking someone might cause a problem? We have addressed the diversity of American culture as shown in its music, its values, and have provided brief advice on tipping. Thank you for your attention. Now you may say, no problem.
No problem.
No problem at all. Let's take 2 minutes to evaluate the speaker. And we're back. Our next paired speech is going to be given by Jean Simonton Craig. Are you ready for story time?
Ha!
And her evaluator, Rhonda Whitaker.
Yo!
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, and viewers at home. We have a speech by Jean Symington Craig, who's lived in Fairfield since 1988 and has been a Toastmaster since 2006. She was president of Golden Speakers Toastmasters in 2007 and 2008, and was then area 92 governor for 2011 and 2012. She belongs to 2 Toastmasters clubs, one of which is at the maximum security prison in Fort Madison. She has mentored a 3rd club and finds the diversity of the different members a refreshing and broadening experience. Her speech tonight is project number 3, The Moral of the Story, from the Advanced Manual, Moral of the Story, Storytelling. Her title is In the Soup, and is a 6 to 8 minute speech. She asks that everyone please form a close circle, close to the front. You can move your chairs.
Or you can come up here.
Where she will be
Move up.
standing to tell her story.
Don't block.
Please help me warmly welcome Jean.
Pull your chair out. Pull your chair out. Yeah, don't block here.
Front row, right here, seats. Seats available.
Chair. Thank you, Madam Evaluator, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow conscious communicators, fellow Golden Speakers, guests, and viewers at home. I'm going to tell you about one of the most disastrous dates, or it could be one of the funniest dates, depending on how you view it, that I ever had. But first I'm going to give you a little background. Some of you were here when I gave my ballroom dance story that featured my fiance at the time, Jeffrey. Consider this a prequel, some of our early dating. Jeffrey, who was a Denver attorney by day and ballroom dancer by night, bore a striking resemblance to Groucho Marx. In fact, all he had to do at Halloween was put on a bow tie and he became Groucho. For our first date, he arrived in a very snappy suit with a coordinating pocket handkerchief, and he escorted me out to a funny vehicle that had a wood interior. We went to an excellent jazz concert, front row seating. I was treated royally. My friends told me later that that funny wood interior vehicle was actually a vintage Jaguar, and he was probably doing all right financially. He certainly had style, so I decided to accept another date. Now he invited me to his house where he was going to cook me dinner. Saturday night arrives. I don't know what to expect because he's a guy. It's probably going to be casual and easy. I arrive and I walk in and there's cool jazz playing in the background. Calamari hors d'oeuvres. Calamari is squid, for those of you that don't know. There for nibbling. And sparkling gin and tonics to sample while we prepare a gourmet feast. Jeffrey was nattily dressed in a pinstripe shirt, a little open at the collar, coordinating suspenders, coordinating pants. I was going to be cook's help, and he was going to be the master chef. Jeffrey had been to the gourmet grocery store and had selected several fancy recipes that we were going to follow and then enjoy the results, probably sometime around midnight. By the way, this was the 1980s when prestige came from having lots of cool material stuff. It was the yuppie period. particularly in the kitchen, where if you had a lot of gadgets and rare, unusual ingredients, it indicated that you were probably a refined, discriminating persona. This kitchen had it all. Jeffrey set me to work, and with dinner not anytime soon, I drank my gin and tonics on an almost empty stomach and just swayed to the jazz, just reveling in how utterly cool we were. Okay, at some point, it became time for me to take on a job of stirring something in a frying pan over here. Just the layout. This is the stove, and and then there was a counter coming down to the right. And farther to the right, Jeffrey was doing something else. It was all starting to blur together. I was supposed to stir some ingredients in a frying pan and then add a can of chicken broth. Well, you know, it's just so cool, and I'm stirring. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not a cook, so I'm really feeling like, oh, I think I'm kind of getting this, and I was stirring. At a certain point, it looked like it was time for me to add the chicken broth. I reached my right hand over to the chicken broth can. It was a 32-ounce can, by the way, large can of chicken broth. I was keeping an eye over here to make sure nothing was burning. You know how contents can settle in a can and to the bottom, and you want to spread it out a little bit, disperse it so you shake it before you open it? Well, that's what I wanted to do. So I'm so cool, you know, and I'm feeling like, wow, I've just got the rhythm here. And I picked up that can, and without taking my eye off of it, I gave it a big shake.
Oh, God.
And I felt it go curiously white. And that was quite odd. So I turned and I looked in the direction of my hand to the right. There was Jeffrey, dripping from head to toe from a quart of chicken broth thrown directly in his face. He was peering out from his little round glasses with sheets of chicken broth covering the glasses, blinking. There was a moment. He looked at me. I looked at him. We were trying to comprehend what just happened. So he said, quite succinctly, "Why did you do that?" And then I said, "How did the top get loose?" And then he said, "I took it off for you." And then I said, quite succinctly, "Oh." And after a pause, he said, "No more gin and tonics," which I thought was quite clever and urbane at the time. The evening might have been salvageable even still, but now I started to giggle. I started to really chuckle, and the next thing I knew, it was gale force laughter. I was laughing like crazy. Every time I would start to subside, the image would return of Jeffrey blinking back, streams of chicken broth, looking at me with complete disbelief. His mouth kind of gaping open and shut, silently, kind of like a Groucho fish. Utterly speechless. That would set me off. And I would start laughing. I was alternately laughing, apologizing for laughing, and then laughing again. This went on all night. On an evening when it was supposed to be a romantic dinner and evening for the both of us. Jeffrey, to give him credit, was very good-natured. It must have been very trying to have me every time when I'm looking at him to start laughing and trying to hold it back and laughing more. The food was delicious, but ultimately the mood had been altered irreversibly. In life, we could often find ourselves in a compromising situation because we failed to pay attention to what we were setting in motion. As you can tell from my story, a quick focus at the beginning, at the start, can make a difference between success and failure. In other words, look before you shake.
Let's take 2 minutes to evaluate this one. And evaluation time is over. It is now time for us to vote for our best speaker of the evening. Our timer, Art, did everyone qualify?
Yes, John and Jean both qualify.
John and Jean. Let's take a moment and vote for best speaker. The vote is in. Before we get to the reward section of the evening, we have our general evaluation section. This is where we get to laugh, we get to cry together, we get to learn what we did well, what we can improve on. And here to do that, our general evaluator is Will Burns.
Yo!
Thank you, Monty. As our Toastmaster just said, this is the time to laugh, to cry. It's also the time to learn. It may not be as much fun as the two speeches we just heard, but it plays a very important job and role in giving us valuable feedback and how we can improve. So first evaluator to evaluate John's speech is Sarah.
Fellow Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, John. John came out front. First thing, very comfortable. He used notes, that's fine. I think he used notes well. How about you? What do you think?
Yo!
Yeah.
It's totally okay to use notes, and as long as you don't get hung up on them yourself, the audience isn't going to get hung up on them. I'm going to follow the manual. What made the speech interesting? Cultural references to a novice audience. So he set up a situation in which he was speaking to a novice audience about cultural references in America. And there were two succinct sections, music and tipping. What was the organizational structure of the speech? Give a brief outline. There was a clear introduction. This is what you're going to learn. And then there was the body, and then there was a wrap-up. This is what we just covered. Music, tipping. However, I got a little muddied in the organization. There was the introduction was clear, and then I think it became a speech about music. So just for a little bit, I thought, wait a second, what is this speech about? Because there was a little overbearing quality to the nature of the music topic, in my opinion. How did the speaker engage the audience to learn? The speaker, John, asked us lots of questions. He polled the audience about our own experience. He engaged us in our own mock response to as if we were a Chinese audience. And I think that engaged us. If I were to give you the most important piece of feedback, it would be around this point, and that is write an introduction that sets up your speech so you don't have to. You would shave time off your speech, and it's less work for you, and it starts you off here rather than you needing to come up to here. Then you can go higher in your speech with a good introduction. That's information for all of us. Write a really good introduction, and it's something that I often need to improve upon myself. How did the speaker relate new information to the common experience and knowledge of the audience? Well, even outside of the fact that he was role-playing with us, I think what he did well was he related to our existing affinity and knowledge for musical genres. He established rapport there, and there was an ability to kind of go back and forth. What would you say is the speaker's strongest asset in informative speaking? John has a natural dynamism as a speaker. He's comfortable, he's expressive, he has an ease in his expression. Comment on the speaker's mastery of the basics of speech. Good volume, good eye contact, good movement, basically. However, especially for your first speech in this club that I've seen, the thing that I would say improvement on the mastery of the basics is just a little bit of this. Pacing. Just a little bit. It wasn't like this kind of pacing. There's a little bit of pacing. Did you all catch that? Yep. In closing, write an introduction to your talk. It was an engaging talk. It was a fun talk, well-organized talk. It was informative. You hit the objectives. Write an introduction to set yourself up. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Seth. And now, to evaluate our second speech, it's my pleasure to call up Rhonda Whitaker.
Yo!
Jean, that was a lovely story. I felt like I was really there. And I totally loved Groucho. The objectives for this speech are to understand that a story can be entertaining yet display moral values, to create a new story that offers a lesson or moral, and to tell the story using the skills developed in the previous two projects. Jean tied this story to a previous story, so in that sense it was a spin-off on the Groucho character. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name. Jeffrey. Such a distinguished name. Jeffrey. The story was presented simply and clearly, in my opinion, but it was elaborately animated with a great deal of facial expressions and action with gestures that kept me on the edge of my seat. The introduction was clear. How did the speaker capture and hold our interest? Jean came up front, she stood up, she didn't sit still, she moved around. She has a way of elaborate, succinct pauses, stationed at specific points during her speech to make us think about what she said. And her detail in the verbal visuals, the pinstripe shirt, a handkerchief in the pocket, the wooden car that turned out to be a Jaguar, a man of means. All of these details are like reading a wonderful, delicious novel. She had exacting descriptions of the situation at hand, what was about to transpire in the dating scene in the historical era of the 80s. The humor of the situation is something that crept up on me as she talked. After she put the apron on, it was like she had waved a magic wand and she became another character. So she held my interest well. She had body language demonstrations by moving from one side of the stage to the other to become the character of the Groucho fish and the gin and tonic damsel. Were all of the elements of a good story included? I believe they were. The dating scene, the plot was clear for the evening. When they were going to make soup by 12 o'clock at night. And easy to identify characters, only 2 characters. She built up the soup and the tension created for the eventual catastrophe had us laughing very hard. Groucho fish stopped the motion picture for the rest of the speech and away from me because every time she talked about laughing, every time she looked at him, I could picture the Groucho fish. Her facial expressions gave us a great deal of detail. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Did the speaker use vocal variety to add to the story? Did you notice vocal variety?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought the apron was delightful. Was the twist to the story? What was the twist to the story? Well, the twist was, for me, that Jeffrey took the cover off the can and everything started to go awry. Was it successful? Look before you shake. Yes. Yes. He was successful. I have it ready.
And now to vote for the best evaluator, including Cindy, our table topics evaluator, we'll ask Art, our timer, did all of our evaluators qualify?
Seth qualified. And by the skin, by a few hundredths of a second. Well, Cindy was 457.
You gave her 5. That's good.
I thought she was given 4.
4 to 5.
4 to 5.
Oh, okay. Then it's 457. Cindy qualifies and Seth qualifies.
Now have a runoff. Please vote for Cindy or Seth.
Seth or Cindy?
Seth or Cindy. And we're back. Now we're into the final portion where we will have the reports from our role players. Starting us off, we have Art Atkinson as timer.
Table topics times. Carol, 2 minutes 10 seconds. Seth, 1 minute 39. Dinesh, 2 minutes 13. Gilberto, 1 minute 28. And Dan, 1 minute 51 seconds. Speech times. John, 7 minutes 23 seconds. Jean, 8 minutes 22 seconds. Close to the wire. Cindy, evaluation, 4 minutes 57. Seth, 3 minutes 29 and several hundredths of a second. It was just, my thumb could have, if it was any slower, you'd know over time. Rhonda at 4 minutes and 12 seconds. That's my report.
Thank you, Art. Now let's hear from Dan Craig, our hot counter.
An interesting phenomenon occurred. The first 3 or 4 people who stood up and speak were totally clean. And then I realized, maybe I'm not listening. But anyway, Monty was clean, Tom was clean, Carol was clean. Art spoke several times and he managed to get an and an Seth had 4 uhs and 1 well. Dinesh had a few uhs and a few ands that were extra. I noticed a couple of so's and a couple of you-knows. Gilberto had 2 uhs and 2 so's. Dan had a you-know, a so, and 3 buts. Cindy had a you-know. John had an and that seemed out of place and an okay that seemed out of place. Rhonda had a so, an and. Jean a so, 2 ands, and Will had a so. That is my report.
And I will be careful. Moving forward now, when I introduce Art Atkinson once again, pulling double duty as our grammarian.
So the word of the evening was used extensively. Tom used succinct at least 4 times. Carol used the word, I couldn't tell if you were using the word distinct or succinct, and I think it was reused wrongly. Dan used succinct wrongly. John had a beautiful turn of phrase, we're all immigrants here. Jean ladled beautiful turns of phrase throughout the talk. Consider this a prequel, was one of them. The cool yuppie stuff, I just love this. Just reveling in how utterly cool we were. She used succinctly. What we were setting in motion, and look before you shake. I felt on the job of grammarian tonight, being preoccupied with timing.
Joe. Thank you, Art. Now I will call up Cindy Traynor to give it a go. Thank you.
Tonight's theme was deadlines. And the quote was, "A goal is a dream with a deadline." went to the internet and Googled goal setting jokes. Came up with a few pages. But none of them really had a whole lot to say, so it must be either the joke masters don't have any goals as far as goal jokes, or nobody finds them funny. So why post them on the internet? I found a real long one, which was too long to read, and then 2 short ones. I want audience participation in these 2. So I'm going to ask a question for the first one. A goal without a plan is just, what's a goal without a plan?
A dream.
Hmm?
A dream.
Wishful
A
thinking.
dream. It's also a wish.
This is a wish.
A wish.
A hope.
Wish.
And the second one is, if you don't know where you're going, you will,
End up lost.
yeah, but
Not get there.
not get there. You'll never get there. That's all I could find on goals tonight. Not very funny, but Mr. Evaluator?
Thank you, Cindy. Maybe it just cut a little too close to home with some of us. I don't know. I will now start off my general evaluation. First, I want to commend Cindy as our table topics evaluator for taking the time and attention to be able to have something for everybody. Give them feedback. So thank you, Cindy, for that. I also want to speak to our 2 speech evaluators, Seth and Rhonda, and kind of highlight something that they both did, which is to summarize. Seth summarized at the end when he spoke about John's need to write an introduction and spoke about his dynamism. Now, what Seth did was already speak to his qualities when he's given his evaluation, but in summing up at the end, he reinforced them for us, which is part of the purpose of evaluations, not only for John. It helped John, it helped us. Thank you, Seth. Wanda also did this, but she did it at the start. She summarized the objectives and how that tied in to this specific speech, of tying in Jean's current talk with a previous talk that she had given. It was very nice. She also summarized things Jean did with the apron, the shifting roles, some of the uses of humor there. I'm going to speak here in a little bit of a larger sense. This was definitely a different kind of meeting. It was smaller on the one hand, and it was also more lively, more personable, as Monty brought out. I want to encourage all of you, if you enjoyed the meeting tonight, to like this on Facebook or comment or express more awesome. It is effective, as our guest Dinesh was brought in here by the community. What this seeks to do is to expand, to highlight the things that we do here that provide value, kind of bring them to more people. So I encourage you, if you like it, share. If you don't, then that's fine too. But with that, I would like to call up our Toastmaster once again. Here we go!
That was a succinct evaluation. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. So now the evening is coming to a close, but not before we give out our rewards. And I have them here in front of me. First up is table topics. Can I get a drum roll? Karen Aoki, table topics. Next up, best evaluator of the evening. Mr. Barn. I'm sorry. Wow.
Will, good job.
Let me offer my sincerest apologies. I have an excuse. Who stayed up last night and caught the blood moon?
I did.
Yeah? I saw it.
2.5 hours.
It was great. I caught it like right before it went the full-on eclipse. Beautiful color. You had Mars up there too. Then I tried to go back to sleep. It did not work very well.
That's okay, Marty.
Yeah.
And last but not least, our best speech of the evening goes to the gin and tonic girl.
Yo!
Thank you, Gene.
Yo!
That was a great story. That almost concludes our evening. Here with our closing comments is our club president, Rhonda Whitaker.
Yo! Yo! Yo!
Oh, okay. This has been a wonderful night here. I would like to ask our guests if they have any comments about what they thought tonight. Something you appreciated about the meeting. Nadia, would you like to give a comment?
I would like to thank John Wright about his speech. He reminded me the time when I came, the first time when I came to America. So I wish to meet you that time, and just maybe you would inform me about something about American culture. Thank you.
Dinesh, would you like to say something?
I love the way this program is conducted, and this is very effective and very succinct, and this is awesome. You know, I have no words to praise it, because the minute things you have taken care of, like the R counters, I've never heard of R counter till then. So this is very good forum for native people like me. Thank you, thank you. I won't miss any of it. Thanks so much.
We have a guest in the back. Would you like to say anything?
Yes, but today actually we have a good experience in my university. Look like a Toastmaster. My professor Karen created a table topic and implement the Toastmaster in this class. But I want to say the youth for implement the Toastmaster in Fairfield. That's so nice, and we actually in class try to speaking more and try to use this way for improve our skills. And thank you for introduce the Toastmaster us in the previous class.
And I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Mahdi.
Maddie. Maddie.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Maddie. Do you have anything you would like to say tonight about it?
Well, I felt more secure today talking to everyone, so it was great. Yeah, so yeah, that's how it felt. More things to say, I guess. Yep.
Excellent. It's coming along. Good.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
If
good.
I feel the actually I noticed the ad counts and went down significantly from the previous times. So.
Work.
Improving, yes. I'd like to encourage our members here to talk to Dan, our VP of Education, and sign up for a speech in the next couple months or weeks. And our guests are welcome to stay and talk with any of our officers if you have any questions. I want to thank Monty for keeping us on time. Watching the schedule, he was an excellent Toastmaster. If you are sleep deprived, you can still keep time. That concludes our meeting tonight, unless there's any other business that anyone would like to bring up.
I have just one brief announcement that the Blue Zones organization will be having a Saturday evening event at the Fairfield Public Library. I'll be speaking on an expanded version of the presentation I gave here on blue zones and what its value is for Fairfield. Mayor Ed Malloy will come and speak on some of the progress we've made. We're actually quite close to becoming a blue zone certified city, so we find out a little bit more about that. Ken Daly will be talking about what's next, where we've been and where we're going in the future in terms of the overall wellness plan for the community. And Chris from Jefferson County Health will be there also talking about some wellness plans. There'll be some breakouts, some round tables, it'll be a good time. We'll have some cheese puffs and some sodas. And some sugary snacks.
Yeah.
Is that this weekend?
Saturday the 19th?
Saturday the 19th, 7 p.m. at the library. Yeah, the night before Easter.
Okay.
So come and get your wellness on. We won't be serving cheese puffs and sodas. That was a joke. Just like the Nutcracker was not a castanet. That was a Nutcracker.
I would like to mention that we have our Division E contest coming up April 26th.
That's true.
Saturday in Davenport, and we're waiting to hear the exact location.
Great to know.
And Seth was our international beach champion for our club and our area 92. And Stephen Harper was our table topics beach champion for our club and area 92. They will be competing. Dan?
I saw the location posted on the District 19 website.
Good.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what it was.
All right. I'll get the details for us next week. Anything else? Art?
Is there anyone in the room who does not know how to find our Facebook page? Help me if I'm wrong. You go to your Facebook page, your own, and in the search bar you put Golden Speakers, Toastmasters, Club, the number sign 7515, and we come up. And the useful thing to do once you get there is read, like, and comment on some post. That has tremendous benefit to the club.
You could send that to the membership as an email. They can click that.
I make a motion that we adjourn our meeting until next week at 7:30. Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed say nay.
Hey.
The ayes have majority vote. Adjourned.